and welcome to the Phoenix Rising podcast. I am Ashley Drummond, your host. I am a fitness, mindset, and nutrition coach to high performers. I am super excited to talk about today's episode as usual. This is so different because I am recording on video. And the reason I'm doing that is because the last 2 seasons of doing this podcast, I got some feedback from some people who didn't have iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything like that, that asked if I would start putting these podcasts up on YouTube. So for everybody who wants to be on YouTube and talking via video, it's not a super exciting background, to be honest. It's just a plain background, but at least I am talking directly to you. It'll be kind of like a coaching session. So today's episode is video and audio. I decided for these episodes for this new season that I really like starting everything in life out on a positive note and just fun psychology for you. Anytime you start out with a positive, people are way more receptive to what you have to say after that. So if you're ever in a fight or about to have a little bit of a disagreement with somebody, if you start out with something positive, they open up their mind and their heart to be more receptive to what you have to say following whatever the positive note is. Now, that's not the reason I decided to start doing these quotes at the beginning of this, but it is just a fun fact for psychology for how it works. Plus, I just like setting the tone for what we're going to talk about today. So, our quote today is from Marianne Williamson. For those of you who do not know who Marianne Williamson is, she is the author and creator of A Course in Miracles. Really fantastic, but also very deep spiritual teachings. A lot of very big spiritual leaders use her as, or not use her, they reference her a lot. But you may have heard this quote. It's one of my favorites. But so here it goes. Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine. Only do what you feel called in your heart to do, and then give all of yourself to the task. We are not held back by the love we didn't receive in the past, but by the love we're not extending in the present. So choose to be brave enough to open yourself up to live fully in each present moment. Now, I love that because the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to really take care of yourself. Self-love is not a selfish thing. It is one of the best things you can do to show up as your best self in the world. And so when you do things like what we're going to talk about today, making sure that you're supporting your mental health, but also like making sure you're giving yourself the nutrition, the exercise, the sleep, the spiritual practices you need to look and feel your best, you not only feel better about yourself and impact your day in a positive way, but you end up showing up better for everybody else. So we're going to dive into that today. I really like this topic because there's so much stuff out there, and like a lot of it is true. And you've heard me talk about like anxiety, depression, low moods, things like that, and how your mindset and programming your thoughts and thinking really is a key factor in all of it. And I mean, we can go down this whole other thing, but check out some of the other podcast episodes on anxiety or anything like that specifically, since that's not really what we're going on today. But one of the things that gets missed a lot when it comes to mental health is sometimes there's actual nutritional and physiological factors that can cause things like low mood, low energy, anxiety, sleep issues, feeling just like super all over the place with your moods. So we're going to get into that, and I'm going to share with you the specifics, not just on the front side that most people focus on with calories and macronutrients, but what a lot of people don't focus on are the micronutrients. And the micronutrients are the things that make the biggest factor in neurotransmitter production. So neurotransmitter production are things like serotonin, which is your happy hormone, dopamine, which is that like drive, like that wake up and motivation, GABA, which is the calming hormone. All of these things, you have a lot of neurotransmitters. Those are the main ones we're going to talk about today. All of these things, though, need specific nutrients in order to be produced. So if you happen to be low or deficient in some of them, you're going to end up having symptoms like anxiety, low mood, depression, and things like that. Before we dive into that, I do want to answer a couple questions. There's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3. All right. We got 3 listeners' questions I want to address. I always love when you guys send me questions because it makes me feel more connected to you. So the first question that I got asked is about conditioning. How many days a week do you do conditioning, or should you do conditioning? So typically this depends on the person. It also depends on a lot of other factors like what your goals are, what your genetic makeup is. Are you a mesomorph, endomorph? Do you tend to have more development in slow twitch muscle fibers or fast twitch muscle fibers? An example of that would be somebody who is very tall, slim, and has long limbs. You would be on the slow twitch side, so you're built more for endurance, as opposed to somebody who's a little bit shorter, more compact. That's going to be more fast twitch. So it depends on a lot of things. But to give you a very short answer, personally, I do conditioning at least 4 or 5 days a week for only about 10 to 15 minutes after I do some lifting. This is also how I structure the programs for clients that I work with. Is there is a strength component, and then you finish it up with a conditioning component. Some of the things that go into this, though, like I said, it depends on if you're trying to boost fat loss, if you want to just work on your overall athletic performance, your endurance, what your goals really are. So that's the short answer. The other question I got is, what do you think is the best diet for women and then for men? We're going to get into this because, to be totally honest, I think the absolute best thing you can do for nutrition is to eat a well-rounded diet. Plenty of fats, plenty of carbohydrates, and plenty of protein. I do not believe in fasting and keto and every other freaking fad diet that's out there. And I'm going to talk to you about why. But yeah, a balanced diet. A balanced diet is always going to be the best diet. You don't need to cut out things. You don't need to deprive yourself. You don't need to follow whatever the latest and greatest thing is. Just eat well-rounded and your body will adjust and balance itself. Okay, last question. Do I do mentorships for other trainers and coaches? So I had a couple personal trainers who sent me a message who had listened to the podcast stating that they've been a personal trainer or they're brand new to personal training. And a lot of this stuff in regards to nutrition, hormones, anatomy and physiology, you just aren't taught that in any of the personal training certifications, which I 100% agree with that. Like a lot of the stuff that I share with you guys and I've learned is just from my own research and self-education and being super passionate about these topics that I decided to just learn on my own. So to answer the question, yes, I do. It is on a very individual basis. So if you are interested in something like that, you're a personal trainer or fitness coach or health coach, and you are looking for mentorship in both your business and or education to work with other clients, just to keep it simple, find me on Instagram at Ashley Drummond and shoot me a message and we'll set up a time to talk about that. Okay, let's get into today's topic. So making sure your nutrition supports not just your physical health, but also your mental health. So to understand this and to make sure that you're doing this, by the way, those of you watching on video, if you see me looking down, it's my notes that I'm looking at. I'm old school, so I have handwritten notes about all of these episodes that I do. So that's why I'm looking down. Okay. So the first thing you have to understand is that your food is energy, not just for your body, but also for your brain. The problem with a lot of calorie and macro coaches and diets or programs out there is they don't take this into consideration. A lot of times it's just like, all right, if you want to be this weight, eat this many calories and eat this many macros. Well, that doesn't factor into your lifestyle. So if you're eating based solely off of just your workouts and what your goal weight is, It's very possible that you are under eating to also support your mental energy. It's not just about physical energy. The other thing with that, too, is the question that comes up all the time. Does it matter the quality of my macronutrients? If I tell you to eat 200 grams of carbs, 130 grams of protein, and 90 grams of fat, can you just eat whatever you want as long as it fits that? Or does it matter the quality? The quality is so, so important, not just from the way that your body metabolizes and uses the food and energy sources, but because if it's not quality, you end up with nutrition and micronutrient deficiencies, which is what causes a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. For example, too, if you are eating, and for all of you low carb dieters out there, this one is specifically for you. If you are eating low carb, moderate fat, high protein, you are not giving your brain enough fuel to produce serotonin and dopamine. So it's really interesting. They did a study on men and women. I can't remember who did this study, or else I would quote it exactly, but I was like, I love it. And I was sharing it the other day. They did this study on people who were regularly prescribed anti-anxiety medications, and they adjusted their carbohydrate intake. And what they found is simply by eating more carbohydrates, a lot of people were able to start reducing their anti-anxiety medication. And the reason being is because one of the things that produces anxiety is low serotonin levels. When you take anti-anxiety, it balances out those stabilizers and can help with serotonin production. The natural way you can also do this is eating the proper amount of carbohydrates for what your brain and your body needs. And it's crazy. Like, you'd be surprised how much food and nutrition your body actually needs in a given day. And men don't really struggle with the amount as much as women tend to, simply because guys are just programmed differently with body images for the most part, not all of them. But for women, when I'm like, all right, I need you to eat around like 200 to 230 grams of carbs. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I need you to eat like 2,300 to 2,500 calories. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to get so fat. It's the same thing for men though. Like, I've done programming for men and I look at their nutrition and I'm like, what are you doing? You're going like 6 hours without eating. That's probably what I see more in men, is less about the macronutrients and more about the consistency of how often they're eating. So that leads me to the next thing. First off, low carb diets can be a cause for anxiety and depression. I do want to say, I am not saying that chemical imbalances don't exist. They absolutely do. And some people do need things like serotonin boosters and anti-anxiety, antidepressants. I am simply providing you with another perspective and a natural way that can help your body balance itself out with nutrition and food. So this goes into the next thing. This is probably the biggest thing. Well, second biggest thing when I see people who struggle with anxiety, low mood, but also energy crashes, is blood sugar imbalances. So your blood sugar is the thing that is going to stabilize hormones. It's going to help fuel you through your workouts. If you are consuming too high of a carbohydrate intake and low fat, which is also very common, I see a lot of people doing like moderate protein and then high carb, low fat, you're going to experience very big energy highs and then very big energy lows, especially so when you do blood work and you see somebody that tends to have issues with high blood sugar or are at risk for being pre-diabetic. The last thing you need to do is be consuming a high carb diet. Carbohydrates get broken down into glucose, which is AKA sugar, that gets stored into the liver. The liver is responsible for secreting insulin throughout your bloodstream to provide you with energy. When it's out of balance, sometimes it can give you way too much insulin, and then you end up having it's like giving a kid candy and they get this huge sugar rush. But then what happens an hour later, they totally crash. It's because it's dysregulated. The blood sugar is out of balance. So on the flip side of making sure you get enough carbohydrates, eating too high of carbs can also cause you to have all kinds of mood swings, It can cause a lot of issues with just stabilization, stabilizing yourself in your workout, stabilizing your energy throughout the day. So on that side, the next thing that happens is people are like, okay, so high carbs cause blood sugar crashes. So then what about keto? So if I'm not doing high carb, low fat, moderate protein, what if I did like low carb, high fat, moderate protein, thinking like, oh, the higher the fat, like at least I'm swapping it out. This also causes a lot of problems. It causes a lot of problems because you still need a certain amount of complex carbohydrates. When you exercise, when your body needs a lot of fuel, your liver releases all that glucose into your bloodstream to give you the energy to get through your workout. What happens if your liver does not have enough glucose? It starts to break down your essential fatty acids, which causes more problems because your essential fatty acids are really important for heart health, brain health, hormone health. Or instead of breaking down essential fatty acids, you get into two other issues that I see a lot is it'll start to break down red blood cell production and it starts to break down your muscle. So your body is very smart and intuitive. When it is underfueled, so let's think about this. You have all these things going on in your body on its own all the time. If your body is like, okay, she or he is only giving us this much food, what is the most important thing to make sure they have serotonin, dopamine, GABA, all these neurotransmitters, or to make sure their body doesn't die? It's going to try and keep you alive. So it's like, all right, so maybe we reduce the production of the neurotransmitters because it's not going to feel great, but it's going to be okay. And then we give all that glucose and stored energy to the rest of the body to make sure the heart is beating, the brain is working, the eyes are working, the lungs are working, etc. That's what happens. When you start to take out even more carbohydrates and now you're in high fat, you come into the issue with your body saying, okay, crap, we now don't have enough carbohydrates or glucose. Where can we go to get through this workout that is going to be the most nutrient dense source of what we need? Your red blood cells. So it starts to break down your red blood cells because there's so much oxygen and important things in that can go right into your bloodstream. This can then cause issues with low B12 and iron deficiencies, which is common for women, or it goes straight to your muscles. Why? Because your muscles are made up of super important amino acids and carbohydrates and protein that your body can break that down and send it through your bloodstream to give it the fuel it needs. Obviously, that is not what you want to happen. You don't want to work really hard to build your lean muscle and then have your body break it down because you're not feeding it enough. So this goes into the why you don't want high carb, low fat, low protein because you'll have blood sugar swings. But then you also don't want low carb, high fat because you're also going to have issues with your body breaking down other sources to get to the carbohydrate needs that it needs. So part of this that you have to look into, and this is why I said in the beginning, the best diet you can possibly do is a balanced diet. A healthy amount of carbs, healthy amount of fats, and a healthy amount of protein. That is going to stabilize you. It's going to make sure you're getting all of your nutrients that you need, and it's going to keep you from having those crashes. The important thing that comes into this is the timing of your nutrition as well. The timing of your nutrition is important because when you first wake up, and this could go on a whole other tangent. Somebody asked me about this the other day in the gym, what I thought about doing fasted cardio first thing in the morning. And I was like, oh my God, please don't do that. Here's the reason why, and this is how it ties into the timing of your nutrition and your mental health. When you first wake up in the morning, this is when your body spikes in cortisol. Cortisol is the wake up response. When your body spikes in cortisol, that is what wakes you up, gives you energy, and gets you moving. With high levels of cortisol, and when you're stressed out, you tend to have higher levels of cortisol. So when this happens first thing in the morning, what we want to do so that our body does not keep pumping out more and more cortisol is we want to regulate our cortisol from the beginning of the day by consuming carbs, fats, and protein within 30 minutes of waking up. Cortisol is what A lot of women, men too, it's the belly fat when your levels are out of balance. It's also what high levels of cortisol cause a lot of problems with anxiety, but then on the flip side, fatigue too. So that's super important. When you don't consume within 30 minutes a meal that has carbs, protein, and fat to regulate the cortisol at the beginning of the day, what your body does is it will produce more cortisol to keep up with the energy that is necessary at the beginning of the day. Most people are busiest when they first wake up and they get their day going. So your body needs the food and the fuel to do everything that you need to do. If you don't give it that, your cortisol is going to go up higher because it's like, all right, well, we got to give you energy, but you're not giving us any food to do this. So we are going to down regulate things like progesterone for women, serotonin, GABA, your calm neurotransmitter. We're going to throw off your blood sugar, all these things just to give you energy because you're not giving us food to do that. So timing is important for that. You can help reduce so much stress just by structuring the timing of your meal. So first thing, cortisol, highest when you first wake up. It's why you wake up. So within 30 minutes of waking up, you need to consume something. The next thing that goes into this comes with the timing around your workouts. Like I said about the carbohydrates and the glucose, when you exercise, your body releases that into the bloodstream. That's how you get through the workout. It floods your bloodstream. It's also why sometimes when you finish a super hard workout, you get the shakes a little bit. That's all that sugar getting flooded to your bloodstream. If it has been more than 3 hours since you have eaten and you are about to do a workout, you need to consume something small, something well balanced, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat. Otherwise, what will happen is your body is already starting to reach the point where it's getting low on fuel. If you don't consume anything and it's been 3 hours, 3-ish hours, you're going to start your workout and you're going to just totally crash because your liver doesn't have any more glycogen to give you. You've used it all. You didn't refuel it. So when you go and do your workout, let's say you eat breakfast at 7, you want to work out at 10:30, you need to consume something around 10-ish or 10:15-ish right before you start to get you through the workout. Here's the part that always messes people up. You also need to consume something within 20 to 30 minutes after your workout. 2 reasons for this. Again, going back to cortisol regulation and blood sugar, exercise is a form of stress. It produces cortisol. When you finish exercising, we want to regulate the cortisol so it doesn't stay high. To do that, we need to consume around 20, 30, probably like 20 to 25 to 30 grams of protein, whey protein. Whey protein hits the bloodstream the fastest. So it's going to go straight to your muscles to help repair them with all of those essential amino acids. And you need to consume a small amount of carbohydrates right after you work out. Excuse me. This is to replace all the glucose that got used up in your workout so that you don't totally crash. Again, there was a whole study they did on this. They found that people who replaced both protein and carbs within 30 minutes after a strenuous workout replaced their glycogen stores by up to 50% for 8 hours later, as opposed to those who waited to 2.5 hours after the workout to replace the carbohydrates. You're probably wondering, why does that even matter? It goes back to your blood sugar control. You will totally feel a crash in energy if you don't replace those glycogen stores because your liver will run out of fuel. This happens a lot in the afternoon. People have that post lunch crash, which that's a lot more than just your workouts. That also can be you consumed a meal that was way too high in carbohydrates with not enough fat. But the way you balance the blood sugar, the way you refuel and restore your liver stores, and the way you regulate cortisol is making sure you're consuming something right after you work out. No, I'm going to tell you right now, no, You do not burn more fat by skipping these meals. This happens all the time. People think if I delay those carbohydrates after my workout, then my body has no choice but to burn fat, right? No, what will happen if you delay the food after your workout? Remember, your cortisol levels get high because exercise is a form of stress. What's going to happen is your cortisol levels are higher. And if you're like, oh, hey, body, burn some extra fat, I don't feel like feeding you, it's going to be like, okay, well, if you're not going to feed us, we don't have any way of continuing to give you energy. So we're going to store more fat by keeping your cortisol high because you refuse to give us the nutrition that we need. So don't think you're doing yourself a favor by skipping meals, thinking that your body is like, oh, you have to go to fat. Go burn fat, but continue to give me energy, produce my serotonin, dopamine, GABA, make sure I have enough energy in my brain to get through the rest of the day and repair all of my muscles. And yeah, take care of that for me. It's not going to happen. So don't go skipping meals or skipping the timing. That's the important thing with that. The other part of this too, so going back to the way your body works is, like I said, cortisol is highest in the morning. Everybody, as the day goes on, our cortisol levels start to lower because it's our natural diurnal rhythm to get us prepared to wind down the day. So this is why you don't tend to have as much energy like as the day goes on in the afternoon, because cortisol levels start to lower in the afternoon. And this is like 2, 3-ish o'clock. Your body doesn't need as many carbohydrates. Your body still needs solid protein sources to keep your muscles fueled so that you don't go into a catabolic state, which is what I was talking about earlier, where your body will go to your muscles as a source of nutrients. But as the day goes on, you can focus on consuming protein, healthy fats, and getting your carbohydrate sources from things like fruits and vegetables. That's going to help stabilize your blood sugar too. Last thing with this on the timing is right before you go to bed, your blood sugar tends to drop pretty low. That's normal. What we don't want is for it to drop too low where you're waking up, your sleep is disrupted, you feel anxious going to bed, you can't just relax. So even before you go to bed, you need some source of protein, little bit of carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, because you don't want it to spike your blood sugar and then drop it again. And then you also need a little bit of fat. The best protein at night is going to be some form of casein. Casein is slow digestion, so it'll help sustain your body as you're sleeping and you're in a little bit of fast. That's kind of the basic things on the nutrition side of this in regards to carbs, fats, protein, the timing of your nutrition and all that. So now we're going to get into like the stuff that nobody talks about, the micronutrients and how the micronutrients affect your mental health as well. So micronutrients are something that you can't figure out with basic blood tests. This is why I'm a huge advocate for getting your nutrition based on your blood work, because it'll show a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. It's not as easy as just like calorie counting and macro counting, because I can give you that and you might still feel like crap. It's looking at where your body needs more support. So, for example, with this as well, you can actually be eating all the right foods, doing all the timing that I'm talking about. You can be meditating, you can be thinking positive thoughts, focusing on gratitude. However, if your body is deficient in certain B vitamins, it can't produce serotonin and dopamine. Remember, serotonin is that happy, in love, life is wonderful type neurotransmitter. Dopamine is that, all right, let's get this done. I'm motivated, I'm driven, like super focused. If you are low and like you have a range of B vitamins, it's not just B12. You've got like B5, B6, B9, B1. They all do different things. So if you're low in certain ones, that can actually be a huge cause for causing anxiety, which is crazy. Like stuff like this, like when I first started learning about this, and even clients, when I work with clients, I'm like, all right, let's get you on, well, actually, like, we'll just not go there. So you don't go start taking things that maybe you don't need. But we get them on a nutritional supplement, vitamin, mineral regimen and get their nutrition in check. And they're like, oh my God, why did my doctor not ever do this? And honestly, I used to feel the same way. However, it's not the doctor's fault. They are not trained in nutrition. They're also not trained in natural practices. And they're very much trained in treating symptoms, where what we're talking about and what I love is working on helping the body function optimally when given the right internal environment, which is your mindset, your food, and your exercise. But yeah, so B vitamins. B vitamins are so, so important with regulating stress. That's the other thing too, is like, for example, even B5. B5 is your stress B vitamin. It helps with adrenal support when you are super stressed. So your B vitamins, by the way, are water soluble. That's why when you take a B complex, your pee is usually bright yellow. It's because you pee it out. That's how you excrete it. So when you're under a lot of stress, the first thing that gets depleted are your B vitamins. On top of that, the specific ones needed to help you through different times. If it's a super stressful time, your body might use up more B5, maybe B6. Maybe you need more energy, so it used up some of your B12. There's very specific ones that you can look at that can cause a lot of anxiety issues, or even like having low mood. It's interesting too, even on the female side of things, when I work with women, and a lot of women who tend to have issues with like PMS, supplementing with the right B vitamins and the right herb nutrients, and it's just like, boom, PMS gone. It's crazy, but it's also like fascinating and amazing. So the other thing too, when it comes to micronutrients, and one of my favorite ones that I swear like everybody can benefit from is magnesium. Magnesium plays a role of like 300 plus different things going on in your body. It's amazing. So a lot of people tend to be low in magnesium. Why? Well, anytime you are stressed, your body will flood your system with magnesium to calm you back down. It's great. Like I said, the body's very intuitive. It knows what you need. Magnesium is important for the neurotransmitter GABA. GABA is what keeps you calm. The problem is if you aren't replacing your magnesium regularly, and especially people who have, they go under chronic stress, or they're in like just very stressful lives, you get depleted. Here's the crazy thing is when you get depleted, a lot of the issues that happen are, again, anxiety, because your body can't down regulate the stress, but also it can't produce enough of the neurotransmitter GABA. You also have restlessness. So when what you need is rest and sleep, you go to bed at night and your body can't rest because it doesn't have enough magnesium to get you in a state of rest. On top of that, magnesium is super important for blood sugar control too. So if people who tend to have a lot of inflammation or blood sugar imbalances, they've even tested replacing some blood sugar medications with magnesium, and people got the exact same result. It's a natural form. So this shows up on your blood test as well. You can take a look at magnesium. It is hard to test magnesium because we store a certain amount of it in our blood, but we also store a lot of it in our bones as well. However, it is tested on lab work, so you can see that too. And then starting to supplement with magnesium, it's crazy how much it affects like mental energy, overall energy, your sleep, your anxiety, your muscle strength and performance in your workouts, because your body has enough magnesium to keep you from cramping or burning out. So this is a micronutrient. So micronutrients, I get asked the question a lot of like, how do we become deficient if we're consuming foods that have these micronutrients? Like, why do I not have enough of it? Honestly, the reason, a lot of different things. Like I said before, like our society is just very stressed. But the other thing too is our soil quality, which is where a lot of our minerals come from, especially in the US, is not to the same standard as what it should be for us to be able to get the daily needs to fit our micronutrients. So magnesium, our soil is not super high quality, packed with magnesium that our body can absorb. Otherwise, we wouldn't need all this stuff. So that's usually the reason why. Another thing that can cause anxiety that is completely unrelated to your thoughts, to your meditation practice, is histamines. So this is nuts. So I'm going to do a whole other podcast topic on food sensitivities. If you are consuming something that you have a very strong food sensitivity to, you will have higher levels of histamines in your body. Histamines can mimic feelings of anxiety and anxiety attacks. And the reason being is because histamines are necessary in our body. Histamines are what stimulate our brains. Histamines help us fight infections. Histamines are really important for women because it helps with the production of estrogen. When you have too much, though, that's when it causes problems. That's when you're experiencing inflammation. That's when you're like, you feel like your head is spinning. You have like shortness of breath. You have all these things going on. Histamine intolerance can play a huge part in that. And most people assume they're like, well, I don't have any food allergies. Like I've been tested. Food allergy and food sensitivity is not the same thing. A food allergy is where like you immediately go into shock and like you need an EpiPen and all that. A food sensitivity is something you can be consuming on a regular basis that doesn't throw your body that much into shock, but it does disrupt your gut. It disrupts your immune system and it causes an overstimulation of the brain, which can produce the feelings of anxiety. So when you do your labs, there is a specific biomarker that shows up on whether or not your body is overloaded with histamines. And then the great thing about that is the way we resolve that is we find out what the food sensitivity is. And then making sure that all your detox pathways like your gut and your liver are all working properly to remove the excess histamines from your body. And again, going back to like even women with PMS, one of the biggest food sensitivities for women that causes PMS, so like the breast tenderness, the anxiety, the depression, the mood swings. One of the biggest ones is dairy. Just removing dairy can dramatically help with that time of the month for women. And then same thing with men too. Like some men also have severe dairy allergies or food sensitivities, and removing that alone can help with excess body weight and inflammation as well. So histamine intolerances are another huge thing that are important to take a look at with your nutrition and the foods that you're consuming to help support your mental health as well. A couple other things, and then we'll start to kind of wrap this up, that are some of the common deficiencies that I see are fatty acids. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, when you're not consuming the right nutrition, your body will start to break down all of your healthy fatty acids in order to provide fuel. When you're low in fatty acids, it can cause things like brain fog and anxiety and low mood, because your brain needs those omega-3s and a lot of those healthy fatty acids along with your heart and your joints. When you end up getting low in that, like I always see things in pictures and visualization. So it's kind of like if you've ever seen a plant that isn't getting enough water, what happens to it? Like it starts to shrivel up, the soil starts to dry, it can't produce anything. Your body is the same way when it's not getting enough nutrition. So when your brain's not getting enough of the fatty acids and the omegas, and your joints are like dried out because it's not getting enough fatty acids, it's going to respond. This also, again, shows up on your blood work. All right, two more. I was going to say two before with the omegas, but I got like two more. Another common mineral deficiency that I see, especially in men, is zinc deficiency. So obviously we all know that zinc is important for our immune system function. Zinc is also an antibacterial. So if you have a lot of acne, zinc can help with that too. Again, don't go just taking stuff for the sake of taking stuff. Like this is why your blood work is important, because you can find out what you actually need, because you don't want to take too much of something and then end up with like toxic levels of vitamins and minerals. But the other thing with zinc too, men who tend to struggle with low testosterone also tend to have zinc deficiencies. And it's like, it's crazy. It's like the body always knows what to do and how to produce everything and to work at optimal levels when it's given all the food, the nutrition, the vitamins and nutrients that it needs. Lastly, I'll say, and there's like a million things I could go on about this, but these are just what I see most common. Iron. Low iron can cause so many feelings of anxiety and depression, especially fatigue. This is huge. I actually had this for a while and I had no idea. Um, I mean, it's not just women, like anybody can have low iron. It can very easily be tested. The main thing is like most doctors will look at your RBC, your red blood cell counts. It's not just about your red blood cell counts. You also need to take a look at ferritin. Ferritin is our iron reserves. That's what's super important as well. But yeah, if you have super low iron, which going back to when your body breaks down red blood cells because it's not getting enough food, it can result in low iron. Low iron symptoms tend to be like shortness of breath, having a hard time focusing, anxiety. Let's think. Fatigue is the huge one for iron. But I mean, if you think about this, like on a broad spectrum, if somebody came to you and they're like, I have anxiety, I have mood swings, I have energy issues, I have sleep disturbances, sometimes I have shortness of breath. Like if you have all these things and you go to your traditional doctor, automatically you're going to be diagnosed and probably written prescription for anti-anxiety or antidepressant, like, oh, fatigue, mood, anxiety, here, this will help. So I'm hoping in this podcast and / now YouTube video with this education that you have a lot more to take a look at to help you better understand your body and also give you very proactive things you can start doing that I'm not promising that it's going to fix anything. However, the body knows how to put itself back in balance when you are giving it the macro and micronutrients that it needs, on top of all the other stuff we talk about in the podcast with regular movement, regular reflection, and mindset and meditation. It also has to do with what you're consuming with your nutrition every single day. So I would highly, highly encourage you that if you have any of these issues, if you struggle with energy crashes, if you have issues with constant anxiety, if you tend to struggle with mood swings, if you have sleep disturbances, women with PMS, guys with low testosterone, if you struggle with energy in your workouts, all these things, if any of these things relate to you, I hope that you now have a pretty good idea of where you can start looking. And I highly encourage you to get your own personal lab works done so you can just take a look at exactly what it is that you need and take the guesswork out of it. That's the huge thing. And I mean, it's amazing. Like you can look up all kinds of studies on mental health and low carb diets. You can look up stuff with like omegas and anxiety and zinc deficiencies and testosterone. You can look all these things up and they've done so many studies on it. And I'm hoping the more and more, not just me, but other people like myself do these podcasts and education that we can kind of help bring an integrative and natural approach to not just physical health and wellness, but also mental and emotional health and wellness as well. So that is a lot of science and information for you on how you can support your mental health with your nutrition. I know we covered a lot. If you are interested in working with me on coming up on doing your lab work, on getting customized nutrition and coaching for you, you can go to the show notes and there's a link in there that you can check out. We'll also hop on a call, talk about everything, and get you to feeling your absolute best because everybody deserves to feel their absolute best. Thank you for watching. If you loved this, like I always say in the videos, make sure to subscribe. I am intentionally going to be putting these out for you every single week. Also, the more you share, the more other people can find this. So I appreciate every single person who has shared this podcast episode with a friend, family member, and anybody who you think may benefit from it. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Ashley Drummond, and I will see you in the next episode. See ya.